I said before that there was something strange about Russia's story of the Il-76 going down in Belgorod with Ukrainian POWs. But as more details have emerged, are things even stranger than even I thought? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about what is going on with this Il-76. So the overall story here is, of course, that the Il-76, a Russian transport plane roughly equivalent to the U.S.'s C-17 in terms of a battlefield role, like a large workhorse non-combat aircraft, was taken down outside of Belgorod by Ukrainian air defenses. And Russia was very quick to say that the plane was carrying Ukrainian POWs, meaning that according to Russia, 65 Ukrainian soldiers who were being repatriated were actually killed by Ukraine themselves. But the more details have emerged, the stranger things have gotten, right? Now, here's the thing. There has been footage released from a number of sources, including drone overflights and wreckage itself, that only depicts a tiny handful of bodies. Now, here's the thing, guys. If you're talking about a plane with up to 70 personnel on it, right, the ratio of bodies to wreckage is going to be very, very, very high. It's going to be grisly. And the fact is, the footage that they're showing doesn't seem to contain that. Much of the footage, and this is footage on the ground that, again, I can't show you here, shows a handful of bodies, like looks like little more than air crew. And so that itself is somewhat suspicious. But to add to the level of suspicion, the manifest of the flight, including the Ukrainian POWs, include up to 4 names who have been reportedly already repatriated to Ukraine, right? So the individuals who were killed on this flight are able to give interviews and stuff. So that makes things a little weirder. And the strangest part yet is that Ukrainian armed forces themselves are saying, hey, we think this plane was actually carrying missiles. And to make things even more interesting, right? Let's see if I can find it here. A former Ukrainian prisoner of war who was released in last February said that when he was exchanged, right, he said that 65 prisoners, 6 crew members, and just 3 escorts was complete BS. He says, quote, when I was taken by plane from Bryansk to Belgorod, there were 20 Russian military police for every 50 prisoners. So the idea that Russia would allocate 3 guards, he calls absolutely preposterous, right? And that sort of makes sense. There wouldn't be a scenario in the United States where we would allow 70 plus prisoners to be escorted by just 3 personnel. That would mean that when they disembark, if you're going to search those personnel, that it's going to take like 4 to 6 hours to do even like a cursory search. If you're talking 2-3 minutes per person, yeah, you're looking at least an hour just to disembark from the aircraft, right? Then you get them on the bus, you gotta search them again, So that number itself already seems a little ridiculous, but combine that with the strange statements by the Russian military about, what was going on, it just all seems a little suspicious. Now, is this a game that Russia is playing? Well, the answer is sort of complicated. And before I get to that, right, as I said, there's a lot of footage that I can't show you here on YouTube. YouTube has cracked down on not just combat footage, but specifically combat footage from websites or from creators who aren't major news outlets, right? That Bradley versus T-90 video, you may have noticed that every major outlet on God's green earth was able to show that video and be fully monetized, right? The Daily Mail or The Sun or any other tabloid from just about any other country. But when you have independent analysts like myself trying to do that coverage, then YouTube applies a different set of standards, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because it makes it really hard for me to, well, earn a living doing this, right? So if you want to support me and you want to get access to uncensored combat footage analysis that drops twice a week, you want to go to combatvetnews.com, check out the become a member, right? Any one of these tiers will get you access to those twice weekly videos. Of course, if you want to support the channel further, I have nothing but love for the lieutenant and colonel tiers. But check us out at combatvetnews.com. A new video is dropping today of some viral combat footage from the Ukraine war. So don't miss out. Become a member, combatvetnews.com today. Okay, so what do I think Russia's doing here? Well, I think they're still trying to achieve the same thing we talked about last time. I think Russia's objective is to make Ukraine think twice anytime they take down a Russian military aircraft, right? And this would make sense because it seems a little weird, even for Russia, who doesn't really seem to regard war crimes as being that big a deal. It seems pretty blatant for Russia to obviously put soldiers, Ukrainian POWs, in the direct line of fire, which is a war crime, right, to do so intentionally. And but my theory was that Russia wanted to do this to make Ukrainian air defenders more hesitant about engaging Russian aircraft, which in turn would allow Russia to have greater freedom of maneuver, at least within Russian airspace near the border, allowing them to bring missiles and drones closer to targets like Kharkiv, somewhere that Russia has been targeting, especially in the last couple of months. So it certainly serves the Russian objectives. And the fact is that Russia could, by claiming there's POWs on this plane when there really wasn't, Russia could actually achieve their objective of making the Ukrainians gun-shy without actually committing the war crime. Right? By just claiming you committed a war crime, which itself I don't think is actually a war crime, you can get almost all the effects without the actual human cruelty. Not to say that Russia isn't above it, but even Russia isn't stupid enough usually to just blatantly admit that they are using POWs effectively as human shields, which is what they would be doing here if they indeed provided no or low notice to the Ukrainians about a flight of non-combatants arriving in Belgorod. Right? Russia made one statement, but it's not clear that this is even official, that they gave the Ukrainians 15 minutes notice about the flight. Listen, I'm here to tell you, 15 minutes is not enough for a military chain of command to discern or tease out a target. It's just not enough time. And it's sort of like telling somebody, hey, tell your rockets not to hit this plane when the rockets have already been fired, basically. That's about as effective as 15 minutes of notice can get you, right? I mean, think about it. Assuming they notify like the Ukrainian embassy, do you think he has every missile battery on speed dial? Of course not. They're not going to, and if you need to call even two people, 15 minutes isn't going to be enough time. So that, I think, is why this mystery continues to get stranger by the day. Anyway, thank you to all the Colonel tier members at combatvetnews.com. Thanks to our Lieutenant tier members. I could not do this without you guys. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.